Hey. My little perky peaches of possibility. My ego liked this one. For those of you that like a more mental path, how about my little deliquescent distillations of divinity? Oh, Lord, we had a fabulous time at the Pie and Bocce Party. Are Mark and Diane here today? They're probably still cleaning up the pie, aren't they? It was fabulous there. I had such a sweet time. Thank you so much. Lovely to hang with you all as usual. So, you know, I was thinking about what is CSA? How do you encapsulate something like CSA? Because is it us? Is it the building? Is it the mind shop? Or I tell you a couple of just incidences I had this week. So I was in the mind shop. It was on Thursday, I think. And it was at the end of the day, and I'm really not good with the figures. You know, there's a little ADD going on there, and I'm tired, and I'm trans-moving figures and things like that. And it was about 4 sheets that we've got to balance out, and this column's got to balance with that column, and all that stuff's going on. And I'd had an overring earlier on in the day that I had to void it, and then I voided it wrong, and it was luck. And I thought, okay, I've got to check this out. Let me get the till roll out, and I'll retrace my steps. And the till roll hadn't recorded because it was a faulty till roll, and there was no calculator. So at that point, the creature from the Black Lagoon rose up, you know, and I asked about to take the mind shop apart. And I glance at this big poster we've got of Lakshmi. And she's looking at me and she's going, "Really, David? Really?" So at that point, I started laughing at myself. And it all worked out in the end. And the other thing was happening. I was standing in the lobby on Wednesday night, just saying hi to people as they were coming in for the movie. And I was just reading the quotes. If you look at the lobby, I don't know if you stood in there for a while and just read the truths. You know, there's what we believe, and then there's some quotes from enlightened beings and people from our lineage. And this one was feeling a little stuck, and then this from Guru Mai. "When you're unsure about the future, keep doing what is in front of you with your heart and with love, and what is meant for you will find you." You know? And suddenly I felt that rise in me, and then there's a little tear that comes, and then there's a gratitude. And then we were in the community room, setting up a little before that. And there was this wonderful artwork on the wall that Cynthia had done. And the energy coming through it, I could just feel the spirit, you know, coming through it. And again, just that gratitude and a little tear of absolute awe of this community and that, and the beauty and the treasure of every one of you. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. Instead of doing a treatment today, I want to read a little something in honor of John being here. I hope it's appropriate. It's from Jack Cornfield. Has a little shamanic thing to it, I think, but I found it very moving. And of course, it just sort of popped up the shelf in the mind shop the other day. But there's a tribe in East Africa in which the birth date of a child is not counted from the day of its physical birth, nor even in the day of its conception, as in other village cultures. For this tribe, the birth date comes from the first time the child is a thought in the mother's mind. Aware of her intention to conceive a child with a particular father, the mother then goes off to sit alone under a tree. And there she sits and listens until she can hear the song of the child that she hopes to conceive. And once she has heard it, she returns to her village and teaches it to the father so that they can sing it together as they make love, inviting the child to join them. After the child is conceived, she sings it to the baby in her womb. Then she teaches it to the old woman and midwives of her village, so that throughout the labor and at the miraculous moment of birth itself, the child is greeted with its song. After the birth, all the villagers learn the song of their new member, and they sing it to the child when it falls or hurts itself. It is sung in times of triumph or in rituals and initiations. This song becomes part of the marriage ceremony when the child is grown, and at the end of life, his or her loved ones will gather round the deathbed and sing the song for the last time. Wow, it's a powerful little piece, isn't it? All right, shall we? Karen's here. Hooray. Good morning.
Good morning, and I have to borrow that book. That's a good one. So this month we are talking about the belief statement that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And today we're talking about heaven as a personal experience. And we'll take a journey to the rainbow's end. And I'll also tell the story of Atagahi. It's the place where animals go to be healed. And we'll find our very own personal heaven with using a map to find it. X marks the spot. Oh, wait, I did that wrong. X marks the spot. And also, I'm very excited that our camp is starting tomorrow, Metaphysical Kids Camp. And I stayed up way too late last night doing that. But we'll take a lot of the practices we do here and go really deep with them into art and nature observation and play experiences. It's going to be amazing. And it's a really robust class, and I'm looking forward to it. So I invite the children to join me this morning. Thank you.
Hey ho, I feel so fine. God in me, as me is me, and I'm just divine. Hey ho, I feel so free, 'cause God's having fun just being me. Hey ho, I feel so fine. God in me, as me is me, and I'm just divine. Hey ho, I feel so free, 'cause God's having fun just being me. All right. Okay, cell phone time. Cell phones off, please. Push the magic buttons. Bye-bye, phones. Thanks for coming. See you later. Good, thank you. Well, this is a great part of the service. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much for coming. We're so deeply happy to have you here and joyful, and we just want to celebrate your presence. Thanks for giving us the gift of your time and the beauty of your presence with us all this morning. And we'd love to give you a little gift. We'd love to give you one of these little gift bags, if that's okay with you. And this is the magic slip of paper here. You could take that, and then you can gift up in the lobby directly after the service. And if you care to, down the path here, you can go to our bookstore, the Mind Shop, which actually has insane sales going on today. But there is a free gift awaiting for you in there. And it's always worth seeing the wonderful Kevin down there too. So thanks again for coming this morning. It's wonderful to have you. Yay-ho! Our musical director is the extraordinary Michael Martinez, and he has invited a new friend for us all. Nikki McCartney is here, and you know she's a great musician because she bought something in the Mind Shop yesterday. So there we go. Nikki, thank you so much. Woo! Lovely. Well, John is back. By popular demand, it's just wonderful. He's a full-time shaman, he's an advisor, speaker, author of a book. The new book is called Dreaming the World into Being, The Shaman's Secrets to Having the Life You Desire Now. John regularly conducts private, individual, couples, and group shamanic healing sessions in Monterey, Big Sur, and Sausalito, and here he is, John Rasmussen.
Thank you. So much wisdom and beauty already. It just kind of leaves me speechless. So now I gotta remember what I was going to talk about. Seriously. So it's such an honor to be here with all of you. Such a beautiful community, and so I'm very excited to share with you this shamanic approach to things. And so what I'd like to do, if you would like, is just take a moment and maybe put one hand over the heart chakra and one over maybe the third chakra or your belly. And maybe close your eyes and look down to sort of draw your attention to what you might be feeling. What are you really feeling? Maybe ask your body, ask your soul, ask yourself, what am I really feeling? What are my emotions? And like I said, after just what's happened, we're all pretty blissed out already, but maybe you could even go back to when you first woke up this morning. Maybe you woke up with the creature from the Black Lagoon. But just want you to get in touch with that for a bit. Okay. So there are a lot of emotions, right? So we call some of the negative ones and the positive ones. They're all very valuable. They all create a signal. And what I think makes shamanism is it's kind of the underlying mechanics of what we consider to be spiritual practices, religions, philosophies, all of it. And the way that I was fortunate to be trained through my life is, I had a lot of these sensitivities. I was born with these gifts that are pretty typical, kind of somewhere on the spectrum, ADD and all kinds of other wonderful things that luckily back in the 60s nobody really knew anything about. So I just was left in my room banging my head against the wall all along. But and I made it. I figured out how to manage to live in the world with that best I could. And fortunately, I started to study a lot of different, modalities and all these traditions, these wonderful teachings and practices. And then I was lucky to meet some these teachers, particularly from this tribe from high in the Andes. They're called the Q'ero, Q''E''R''O. And this is a picture of them on the slide now doing a ceremony together, despacho ceremony. And extraordinary people, been isolated for 500 years, living at 16,000 feet in the Andes. 29 million other Peruvian natives didn't even know they existed. There's only about 2,000 of them today. But they've come out of isolation to teach us from all over the world that which they have held. In terms of their worldviews and their healing traditions and the shamanism. And so really I've been initiated by them, so I'm really a representative of this group. This is sort of my shamanic family, if you will. And They taught us some amazing things that I put into practice. I'm going to talk about now a little bit, and then we're going to do a workshop this afternoon and delve more deeply into some of these practices. And they're very simple, they're very primal in a way. Again, that being the core foundation of a lot of teachings and traditions. And so getting back to the emotions, what shamans recognize is that you're always sending a signal, either consciously or not. There's a kind of dreaming your world into being. There's a kind of constant, I'd prefer this than that. I'd prefer the world to look like this than that. Oops. And the signals come from different layers of our being. And this is what's recognized. So the mind, the conscious mind, where you could articulate to somebody, hey, I hope my dinner is good tonight and my house is warm, some basic things you might want in terms of your health, your relationships, your work, your resources. And then there's sort of subconscious signals. And so this is prayer, so this would be like if we did a very deliberate prayer or intention setting, with our mind, that's sending a signal. That's the law of attraction and all those wonderful things. And then there's this subconscious layer that we call the mythic, and these are archetypal beliefs and worldviews. Things like no pain, no gain, or life's a struggle, or I'm only valuable when I'm in battle, or, it's better to give than to receive. A lot of these familial, cultural, religious teachings, societal, and they're sending a signal as well. And typically it's more unconscious. So we'd like to be able to access that layer and make sure that the signals we're sending from that layer are matching what we would like to experience in the world, our prayer. And the way that we access that mythic layer is art, music, poetry, ritual, ceremony, images, symbols. This picture on the screen now is what I call it, my destiny altar. This is what anchors all of my team and various medicines and various wisdom teachings, all in a visual form. So you've heard of vision boards and so on. The thing about vision boards and what you want in life is that we don't want to make it just magazine cutouts in a tiny little whiteboard. This is your life. Make it spectacular. Make your vision boards a whole wall. Make it a beautiful mural, a beautiful painting, a beautiful song, a beautiful poem. So that's one of the things that we do. And then we recognize that there are signals coming from the deepest part of our being that we call the soul in English. It's the aura and chakras in Sanskrit. It's anima in Italian. There's a name in every language. And those signals are coming from past experiences, either in this life or even previous lives, that didn't get sort of processed and released like normal. So when you experience a kind of drama or trauma or painful experience here in the theater, on the planet, the normal thing to do is emote, right? Is to cry, scream, yell, process things at a gut level. Again, like David was saying when he realized that mistake and rah, and it was because of that rah that Lakshmi appeared, right? And the wisdom appeared, and you went back to where you want to be, right? So this is why it's so valuable. Without the emotion, some of these things might not happen. So emotions are a very powerful signal generator. So you can just think of things that you want, and that's kind of aiming the boat from this island to that island, from where you are to where you want to be. But if you don't fire up the engines, you might not get there. So it's like a signal generator. The more sort of emotional you are, the more, and it doesn't matter what kind of emotion. It doesn't always have to be the positive emotions. The negative emotions are also the signal generator and can, cause you to be like, please come and, help us, right? And that's the powerful prayer. So that all comes from these deeper layers, not just the mind, but it comes from the soul. It comes from the mythic layer. And so we have processes that we do to make sure that all of those layers of your being, the mind, the mythic, and the soul, are lined up with the same signal and the most powerful sort of engine behind it to make things manifest more quickly for you and for the world, whatever your prayer is. And so that's why, it's so important to sort of acknowledge and be in touch with that part of your being. And when we do ritual and ceremony and music and art, that's what gives us access to the soul. It's a more direct access than just the thought process, just the mind. So, like I said, we're going to cover some of those in the workshop, but I'll tell you a little bit about what I was taught by these Karo in terms of the process that we do. So when you think about the level of the soul and you think about some of these energetic patterns and imprints that might be stuck, that again, if we don't know about it or pay attention to it, we sort of skip over it. We just go to the mind, we just try to solve everything with our mind. But if we recognize that these things are there, there's ways to work with it. So we have this first process called the illumination process. And this is a cleansing. This is the chakra cleansing that we do when you hear about these things, to remove some of the past painful experiences that have been lodged and didn't get released out of your first chakra through emoting. And then we have a process called the birth, the rebirth. It's a death and rebirth that helps you to cleanse your ancestors' wounds, because a lot of times we might be attached still to their story and their wounds. So we have a process that we're able to sort of cut those cords and attachments. And then we have a process called extraction. So you've heard about things where entities or energies, like old wounds, like past life things like spears and other like dramatic or traumatic experiences, they can get caught up in your energy field. And there's studies that have shown there's villages that are isolated in a way that they recognize a person who had got their hand cut off in a previous life. They're born without their fingers in this life. So it can really have an impact on your current physical body, And so what we do is we're able to pull some of those energies out. And with this process, the extraction process. And then there's a process called soul retrieval, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. And this is where we want to make sure we can go back in time and change our perception of a traumatic event from a disempowerment trap like victim, perpetrator, or rescuer to a more empowered way of being. Creator. I'm the creator of my own experiences no matter what anyone else does or doesn't do. It might be painful what happened to me, and I can process that and release it, but the story that I then tell about it to myself determines whether or not I become traumatized or get diagnosed with PTSD or something like that, to lose some of the passion and the gifts this part of us held that went missing, a part of our soul. So there's a process that allows us to go back and change that story so that we can bring that part back and be whole again. And that's the soul retrieval process. Finally, then there's a process that I think in a way all of this leads to, because kind of the end of, or when you go through a healing process, what you're left with, ideally, is being like a child back in the garden again, back in the playground. Why are we here? We're here to play with each other, create, experience all the drama and the pleasure and the pain and the joy. The Carol are a great example of this, 99 years old, and they're still giggling with each other at 3 in the morning in their little tent when we're out, camping and stuff, and always finding ways to laugh and joke around. And so what happens when your healing journey is sort of as far as it can go, perhaps, is that it now becomes just a process of playing and dreaming the world into being. So we call it the destiny retrieval. You can think about, from your mind's perspective, the kind of world you want to live in, or kind of experiences you want to be having in your life, your goals. You can then make a picture of it, the destiny altar that we talked about. That would sort of get a mythic layer aligned of your being. And then we can actually travel forward in time. And we can page through all your possible futures, because you're always free to make a decision that could change anything. But most of what you'll decide is based on everything you've always been in the past. So it's called the momentum tunnel. There's a kind of, normal way that you think about things and look at things and pray and dream them into being. And so we might be able to page through and find the one that is more ideal, and then actually bring those patterns into your soul, so that that's what's influencing you. That's the signal, the main signal that is always essentially praying, right? Whether you're conscious of it or not. So that's what we like. We like the unconscious signals, the conscious signals to be praying. So another couple of the mythic things, you see these tarot, the way that shamans work with these is the images, not so much the words. So we might have someone choose 3 cards and then tell us a story, make up a story. Once upon a time, there was, animals, looking at the sun, and so on and so forth. And as we go through these cards and tell a story, it can tell us where we are in that story. So people will tend to, that signal will come up from the mythic and kind of reveal more than your mind could where you are. And then we can go work on that. We could change the cards, we could bring in a new card, we could change the story. So I hope that makes sense. So this is really, I think, what shamanism incorporates in a kind of very comprehensive way. The notion that we want to address all these layers, not skip any of them per se. And there's ways to do it, and they're very elegant, beautiful ways. In fact, I have just had been asking, in a way, kind of like as a destiny retrieval, I wonder if there's anything new, because we're drawing on ancient wisdom all the time. We're drawing on things that happened 15,000 years ago, like with the Caro, and we're working with these things. But I wonder what the next thing might be. What are we going to be doing 10,000 years from now? Who are we going to be, and what are we going to be engaging with, like cosmologically, right? So I began to wonder that. And I had a student that I told this to, and in shamanism, the student leapfrogs the teacher, so I can always count on the fact that the work's getting better, thankfully, no matter what happens with me. And she was extraordinary. She went off on this journey, and she gained access to this sort of ideal who we are becoming next, and brought back like 100 pages of teachings and movements and symbols and codes and all this beautiful stuff, like a whole new system basically. And so we put it together. It's online now. It's like an online course, and we call it the New Ascension Rites. And it's because we think of the rites as a kind of download or transmission. So we thought, why not? I got these rites from the Caro. That's a 15,000-year-old tradition. Why not get rites from the future who we're becoming? So that's also shamanic. Shamanism's open, it's growing, it's evolving, it's constantly exploring sort of new ways to access those layers and, again, essentially for the practical purpose of improving life, creating more heaven on earth than otherwise, creating, right, more of the experiences you want, less of the ones you don't want, for you and for your village and your community. So a lot of what you might have been feeling when we did that might have been your own personal stuff, but for a lot of you here, you're open, you're sensitive, you're engaged in this learning and this healing when you come here every Sunday and perhaps daily in your practices. Maybe some of you are healers and work with clients. And something to recognize about that is that if you have that level of sensitivity, not only are some of your emotions what you're feeling, but they could also be what your village is feeling. Your tribe, your people. And because when the Caro greet each other, they don't even say, how are you? They say, Ayanchu in Quechua, which means, how does your village live within you? Because they know if you're this kind, if you're sensitive, that's about as good as you're going to be. So we care. It's sort of like the inevitable trajectory of the healing process is not only to be as free from influences and in your own power on all those levels, to dream your world into being personally, but to then begin to envision and dream the world into being for everyone, right? So that's the giving part, right? The asking, the title of the talk was Asking and Giving. So you ask so that you can receive that healing, that coming into your freedom and power, and then you're able to truly give at all the deepest levels. So I just, let's see, what else can I tell you about here? I think I've covered it. I think so. Is there more? Is there any questions? Can I open it up for anyone? Did I get done too quickly? Yeah.
I think since we live in such a dark time, we
Yeah.
need to put out as much light as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the dark time that elicits the emotion that fires up our engines, right? If everything's good, we're just cruising, right? Which is great. We want to get there. That would be awesome. But it's been my experience when I remember hearing about like the mother of Yogananda and the mother of probably Jesus and all of them. They were in their darkest moment on their knees, begging God to bring a savior, to bring somebody to help with what was going on. And then boom, they give birth to it. So that's the mysterious ways, right? But yes, absolutely. That's why I wanted you to be in touch. I don't want you to necessarily, like a shaman wouldn't say, try to avoid those moments when you feel that darkness or that despair or that anger, that frustration or whatever you're feeling. But use that moment to pray. Use that moment to go, come on, help us out. Thank you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that was when I'm on my way to something like this, driving from the far distances of Marina to get here, 3 days journey on horseback. Anyway, I usually just, I don't prepare a lot. I have a little bit of an outline because it made sense here today. But I usually just kind of see what's going to come up. And it was very clear on my way over that the whole thing about emotion was the thing. Because yes, in fact, we could have woken up and turned on the TV and seen the creature from the Black Lagoon and went, oh, can't wait to get to the center to chill out. But that's the thing. And so, like I said, we're going to cover in the workshop how to elicit that, because sometimes you don't want to just wait till you see something or hear something that really bugs you. You want to elicit the emotions. And that's what the ritual, the movements, the art is about. Yes, another question. Thanks, yeah. I meant to do that. So this was the altar that my student and I created when we were filming the videos for the online course. So this is what we did. These cards, these 64 cards, are the 64 symbols that came through this channeling, this transmission, and I've now created an actual deck that'll be available soon. But these are our mesas, the little things open with the stones in them. These in the Karo tradition hold our processes. We're trained to be shamans. It holds the wounds that we've healed in ourselves that become our gifts and our strengths as a shaman, because each of us is unique and each of us has, our own, obviously, life experiences, multiple life experiences. And so when we do the training, we teach these stones, and our teachers' stones teach these stones how to do this illumination process, this cleansing I talked about. The stones take the energy and return them to the earth, so we don't have to. In fact, that's another big thing about shamanism, is that we are mediators of souls between the worlds. We're mechanics, kind of, but the real work happens from the team that comes when we call. So this helps with. Yeah, there's a lot in there. There's a lot on my website, shamanjohn.com, and I have a lot of YouTube videos, and definitely also in the workshop where we're going to explore these, like how to do it your own way. Because the beautiful thing, again, shamanism recognizes is that while this is very spectacular looking and obviously a beautiful table, and so we made it a really beautiful thing, but it could be much simpler than that. There was another picture that came up that just showed a bunch of dirt and like pine needles. Yeah, there we go. So that's another way to do it. But this is what one of the mythic processes that after I work with someone and we've shed all of these heavy energies and we've done the illumination, this is the mythic homework. This is what I call the mythic toilet. It's like it's like, I'm very literal. I don't mince words too much, but I'm not as poetic as my teachers. But it could be like a mandala or what's classically called like a sand painting in the Tibetan and the Navajo traditions and others, where they would make a picture of. In this case, the Tibetan sand painting is part of the destiny retrieval, but the mythic toilet is the other side of it, what we're shedding, what we're getting rid of, what we've gotten rid of energetically on the energetic layer, but then we want to also match on the mythic layer. So to access that mythic layer, we blow the problems that we've now shed, the issues, the wounds, into sticks, stones, leaves, twigs, all kinds of stuff, and we put it in this circle, and then we burn it or bury it at the end, because the earth takes our waste and mulches it for us. That's the deal, right? And it does it not only physically, but it does it energetically. So we just take advantage of that, and that's the mythic way to do that. Yes. Good morning.
This idea of looking forward is tremendously exciting to me. Did you get some surprises? Were there some revelations, ahas for you? What was that experience shifting to looking forward like for you?
nothing short of extraordinary, frankly, and miraculous. It sort of took the work, and some of the students that have done this course now and everything and connected, it's like it's sort of just ramping everything up, which was really what was my prayer behind it. I've spent the last 20 years doing this work as a shaman in this tradition that I learned fundamentally, hoping it would save the world, hoping within a few years everyone would be healed and we'd all be kids playing in the theater again, in the sandbox, and back in the garden. And that 20 years later, it doesn't look like it's working so much. And I'm like, what have I been doing? But no, and I know it's working. But it definitely was the impetus for me of late to kind of go, like, what else? What am I missing? What more can there be? Can we get something new that we haven't used yet? Because we're all experts in everything that's, been, given to us from the ancients and all this stuff. And I just sort of act of desperation asked, is there anything in the future I can access that might help? Because the destiny retrieval, these are the cards with one of the symbols. Yeah, those are the symbols that came through. Anyway, extraordinary stuff. And so the idea of the destiny retrieval, the way I like to analogize it is, imagine there's a big ship, like one of those tankers going a certain direction, and you need to change course, and you get in the water, and you've got a short rope, and you're swimming, and the wind blows, and so now you're swimming this way. You're just trying to get this thing over there, but you're to do it, you're swimming back and forth. The destiny retrieval is like taking a rope like a mile long from where you want to get to and just kind of pulling it. So much easier. Yeah, it'll zig and it'll zag and everything, but since you're pulling from the point of where you want to go, it's you get the picture, right? So the idea of the destiny retrieval is kind of go out as broad or as far as you can go and anchor that with the destiny altar and with your we use a left eye to left eye tracking technique to get into a person's future and page through and then bring it in using breath, and there's a much better chance, or it's a higher probability that will manifest. It's just a very powerful form of prayer, the way I look at it. Yeah. So those are the most miraculous experiences that I have in any of this work, is a really powerful destiny retrieval. So it's been amazing. Yeah, these beings have come through. What's fascinating is that as we began to work on this, friends of friends that didn't even know we were working on this, started to have dreams with these symbols and with the beings. So it's like we opened the portal and they're flooding in going, right, somebody asked, let's go to work, right? So that's what it feels like to me at this point. Yeah. Any other questions? You had one, yeah.
A couple people asked when they knew you were coming about soul retrieval, and I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big one. Sandra Ingerman book about that's in and of itself is a very powerful healing modality. So I mentioned that when we experience pain, the difference between someone who gets diagnosed with PTSD and someone who doesn't, someone who comes back from a war, let's say, or any situation, and is having these symptoms of not being the person they used to be and having other issues. The difference is, again, essentially how we perceive the event. That's the power that we have as creators of our own experience. Like a Viktor Frankl, for example, during the Holocaust, right? If something happens to me that's extremely painful or shocking, and I decide that the world's not safe and this always happens, I lose my friends in battle, whatever story I tell, then that's when I've now not only experienced a few moments of pain, but I've essentially decided that the whole world and the rest of my life is that. So that's when a part of our soul, a quantum of energy of our soul, because it's really an energy field of sorts, goes missing, goes hiding. And we consider it into the belly of the earth, into the mother. And of course, with it, the passion and the gifts, that part held. And we could, or we could die of shock, which EMTs have to keep you from going into. It's more rare, but it definitely is something that, where the whole soul just says, I'm out of here. Like, this is so bad, I'm out. But usually a part of us goes and we live, and the suggestion is that it's the only way we can live. It's like a disassociation. We have to compartmentalize that, and we live. But the price we pay is that we're missing those bits and the gifts. And then we tend to make a contract as well, a belief system, a myth, the whole thing, that, love equals abuse, or, the world's not safe, or my friends die, or, this type of thing. And then that just becomes the signal that's constantly asking, and the universe is delivering, and that continues to be made true. And that's your life. And so when we do the soul retrieval, the shaman facility, you could do it on your own. It's one of those journeys that a person can do on their own. And I think it's an important point to make, actually, that, you are your own shaman, first and foremost, right? If you need help and you want to get someone to facilitate, that's what we would do as work as a shaman. But essentially, you're the boss. You're the one that can take care of all of this on your own, and with the help of non-physical teams and anything else you have. So discernment's a good thing. But back to the soul retrieval. So the process is one of a journey that we take into the belly of the mother to find the event that you went through, to talk to that part of you at that moment and sort of try to convince you that that the world's not like that. You don't have to look at it that way. That you don't have to be victim or perpetrator, which is the same pain, or rescuer, which is the same pain, same disempowerment. You can be creator of your own experience, and then we, if we get through to that part of you, then we can take the hand of that part of you, bring it back. We check to make sure any contracts are there. Like I said, equals abuse, we can change that contract, tear it up to love is warm, nurturing, kind, and supportive. And that one, for example, would be a young girl who's abused by her father, let's say, where that's the association. He loves me, he hurts me, they must go together. And then later, all of her relationships tend to be abusive. So we would change that. We would bring back the new contract, bring back the soul part that's healed now, that has a different perspective. And we would then see what gift, because in this shamanic process, we always recognize that our wounds become our gifts, right? That which we go through, if we can heal it, becomes a part of our medicine, becomes that which we now can offer to others, that we can give. And so so we just can get like typically a symbol or an image of something that represents that gift. I remember one time I was doing this for a young man who lost his best friend to an accident, and they both worked, I didn't know this at the time, but they both worked at MTV. Remember MTV, the music video thing? And music was his entire life. It was the greatest thing ever. But when his friend died, he quit, he couldn't have anything to do with music anymore. And it was devastating, right? You can imagine. I didn't know any of this, but I did know that he needed, that his friend died and he needed the soul retrieval. And when I got to the place of the gift, I saw a karaoke machine in my mind's eye, in the journey. And I thought, oh my God, this is silly, which is typical for us. As a shaman, we're always working with the unknown and the unknowable, so it's a strange experience. But I brought it back and I told him about it. I said, well, the gift is a karaoke machine. He went, oh my God, that makes perfect sense because music is everything to me and that's my gift. And so that's part of the process oftentimes. Does that kind of clear? Does that make sense? Yes.
So would you do the ancestral mind clearing before or after the soul retrieval process?
Yeah, these steps, there's a reason and like a logical reason that these steps go. So the first thing is to clear your own wounds, because those are the biggest thing that might be, affecting your signal. You're asking for those wounds to repeat. Then we clear the ancestral threads and any imprints and things. So those two processes are ones of shedding negative influences, right? Old wounds from you and your ancestors. Then the process shifts towards bringing stuff back. So once you've shed and made room, then you go do the soul retrieval to bring those parts back. The soul part might not want to come back if you still have a wound or still have an ancestral thread that says you're only valuable when you're in battle. So create battles so you feel valuable. And the soul part's going, that's why I left in the first place, so why would I want to come back? So it is kind of a process of having a conversation like, are you sure it's safe to come back? Is this person really done their work? Or am I going to just have to leave again? So so it makes sense. And then, like I said, once all that's dialed in, the destiny retrieval makes perfect sense, because now it's all about, never mind who I've been and what's happened in the past, what do I want to have happen? Who do I want to be? Yeah, so, yes.
How do you use power animals or totems?
Oh, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Oftentimes, so nature is always, to shamans, nature is alive and it's constantly helping us, clothing us, it's supporting us, it's shelter, it's food. And it gives us energy and it gives us mythic and it gives us psychology as well. And so the characteristics and instincts of a particular animal is something you have, but it may be something you need more of. So you can wear things, do things, have pictures, shake your rattle with the cat on it or the eagle, and that brings in the characteristic of that particular animal. It's something we should have all been taught. There's a book called Animal Speak that covers that really well. So the soul retrieval process is typically where the power animal might show up in order to use its characteristics and instincts to help keep you from going into the victim, perpetrator, rescuer mode again. Yes, that happened again. You got hurt, but remember, you're still the creator of your experience. So the hawk will show up and swoop by at that moment or something like that, or you'll dream of it. Yeah, question?
What is the most important lesson you've learned as a shaman?
That's a good one. What's the most important lesson I've learned as a shaman in life? Well, it kind of came up this morning, so I'll share this one. One of the critical teachings or trainings in shamanism is non-attachment, to the outcome particularly. Because as soon as we're a healer and we feel like the need, and people can call it ego and this and that and the other thing, but if we still feel like the world needs me to help them, or you need me to help you, or that's bondage. And the basis of life is freedom. So bondage is the opposite, the need, the should, so there's a huge part of the training to get into this weird paradoxical state where I didn't need to do this today. I could have just stayed home, watched TV. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need to work on anybody. Nobody needs me. Nobody needs my work, my medicine. But if you call, I'll show up and I'll do my best. But I also don't care if it works or not. So it's a weird, I know it sounds funny, but it's really important. So, yeah. The caretaker archetype we have to shed. As soon as we feel like we're the ones, and I'm only happy today if you get what I'm saying and you get healed. Now I'm in trouble. So we call it no praise, no blame. Like if it works, great. Not I didn't do it. If it doesn't work, oh well, I didn't do it. Try someone else. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So that's probably the most important thing because it's so big. It's like almost everyone I talk to, even people who've gone through a lot of training, that's usually still a sticky point.
Stay there? You don't oscillate, or you don't?
Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, no, I oscillate. I mean, yeah. I don't think anyone here on the planet is that perfect or dialed. I understand a lot of things. I don't practice all of them very well. But I do okay. Yes.
When you have the three components, the rescuer and the victim, but the perpetrator, I don't really understand that. If you could have more words on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's another one of the tricky parts to all of this because shamans recognize that our natural healed state, if we never got messed up as we are, we would just be kids goofing around in the theater. And our natural state is to be loving and compassionate and kind and helpful, all those things, right? And the only reason somebody does something malicious to someone else as perpetrator, as you're the victim, I'm the perpetrator, I'm gonna hurt you, right? Is because I'm in more pain. And that's a funky way to try and relieve my pain. Like it's not a smart way to do it, right? So the perpetrator is in more pain than the victim, we say, and that's why they do that thing. And then the perpetrator, believe it or not, there's a whole spectrum, right? But I know that if I cause somebody pain, it's the worst thing. Like you could beat me up all day and I'll be okay, but if I cause somebody pain, I'm devastated. So I'm a horrible perpetrator. I'm horrible at that. I know it sounds funny, but I don't want to do that. But that's the thing. So you get hurt, and then you go, now I got to hurt you back, because that's how we even this out. And now you're the perpetrator, right? Even though it seems justified, right? You hurt me first, I hurt you back. Then I got to stop you from hurting someone else. Now I'm the rescuer, and then you do it anyway. Now I'm the victim again because I watched you. Do you see how we dance around that constantly? And none of it really matters other than it's just losing your power each time. Does that make, yeah.
So you have to get beyond all of them.
Ideally, yeah. Yeah. And then ideally, if you've done all the other healing bits, right? Like if you heal the big wounds and you heal the ancestral threads and you get rid of some of those things, it's like you wouldn't really choose to be the perpetrator. You know what I mean? Like that would mostly not be happening anyway. So it wouldn't be such a thing. Yeah, you had a question.
You talked about healing the wounds and healing the threads of the ancestors. What does that look like to you? And how do you know it's time to go to the soul retrieval part?
So you might have noticed when I got up here, I put on my beads. This is my ritual. This is my mythic way of going from John just trying to navigate traffic from Marina to John the shaman. So this is a big part of the training to turn on and off, like our tracking ability and sensitivity. When I'm done, I'll take this off. So the question is, how do I know? It's not so much I know here, it's really that when I'm in a session with somebody, it just sort of tells me what's needed or not. So someone may not need a soul retrieval, they may not need the ancestral threads released, but it becomes really obvious to me once I'm in the session, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we can measure it essentially on what you're experiencing in life. So again, your health, your relationships, your work, your resources, all experiences come through that. If you're having a difficult relationship experience, let's just use that as an example. And we've healed all your past wounds around that. But you're still having that issue. still struggling with relationships, still not able to get what you want from a relationship, let's say unconditional love, support, whatever, then there's probably a good chance it's your ancestors' thread that you're living. And it doesn't hurt. You don't lose anything doing this work. So you can't like do something you weren't supposed to unless your intent is more sorcery, but that's a whole nother thing, like to disempower someone. But like if someone comes to me and I just do all four of those things, whether they needed it or not, it's fine. Like, so the ancestral clearing is this spiral, this death rites where we sort of send the person out of their body, we cut the threads, and then we bring them back. So it's a death and a rebirth process. I don't know if that answers the question. Okay. Any others? Yeah? Yes.
When you used the word earlier about creator, was one of your goals as a shaman in healing, to change, if you will, I always think about creator being the opposite of victim. In other words, sort of moving someone out of the victim state into the creator state.
Yeah, for sure. Co-creator, creator, right? Like, yeah. Shaman's worldview is that we're all consciousness in different forms, making things like nature seeks greater and greater complexity. So just what new experiences can we co-create? What new, right? And so it's our nature to be creators. That's the signal that's always going out. We're asking and receiving. That's a creative process. So yeah, ideally, that would be our normal state. Yeah. And we always want to experience some contrast. There's always some pain in our theater, right? There's always something. You can't have it all bliss all the time, but definitely more pleasure than pain, more heaven on earth than hell on earth would be great, right? I think.
In your workshop, then, are you working on individuals or the group as a whole, or how do you?
I thought what I'd do, I can demonstrate some work, but I thought in the workshop I would just kind of run through the various processes and teach you how to do it, maybe for yourself or for others, do this. Then some of what I call the homework, the mythic processes, how to do certain things that can be very helpful to you on a day-to-day basis or as a healer. So that's what the workshop was going to be about, just to really kind of have everybody maybe experience some of these processes and learn how to do them. Yeah, for yourself, kind of a short shaman's training course, essentially. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm back. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think I need a translation. I was not quite. Yeah. It's a beautiful song. Thank you so much. This is our time for conscious giving. If the ushers will come forward. This is a time that we give back to this wonderful center and this support this teaching. And the people that come and visit us, like John, that are there for our own spiritual growth. So it's a time for us to give back generously. There are envelopes in the back of the chair in front of you, if you'd like to use that for your donation. Let's join together and say the affirmation, our prosperity affirmation. I say yes to the abundant flow of good in my life. I recognize God as the source of my supply. I know that as I give, so too shall I receive. Abundance and prosperity are my divine right, and so it is. We're fortunate here to have a wonderful group of practitioners that go through training to support you and wherever you are in your process. It's our form, I think, of shamanism here, where we move into a state that can address anything that's going on in your life from a very different perspective. We call it spiritual mind treatment. And we have, today we have two practitioners, myself and Molly Steele. And Molly, are you here? If you'll stand, please. Molly's over on the side. So we will be, right after service, we'll be in the meditation room here. If you want to wait in there for us, we'll come and get you and do a spiritual mind treatment for anything that's going on in your life that you would like to move beyond and see from a different perspective, which I think is what shamanism is really about. How do we see life from a different perspective? One of the things that Dr. Bill always says is that quote from Einstein is that you don't solve a problem at the level of the problem. And the reason that we go around in circles is we're stuck in a problem space that we can't get out of. And so shamanism, or our form of spiritual mind treatment, is a way of perceiving things from a whole different perspective. So if you'd like to have a treatment, please come back and join us. And thank you so much for your gifts today to support their teaching in our center here. Let's read together the blessing for what we've given. The divine consciousness that I am is forever expressing its true nature of abundance. I bless the gift that I have just given. It does perfect work. Dr. David.
Thank you, David, so much. Yep, love them ship things. Tell you all, one day my ship's going to come in. I'll probably be at the airport. I'm going to invite somebody to the podium now who I think is the most wonderful man. I'm incredibly fond of him. He is my manager, my mentor, and my great friend, the wonderful Kevin Johnson.
So last Sunday, I think we might have had the biggest day in the history of the Mind Shop. And because we're remodeling, we're replacing all the floors and the like, we need to put everything in boxes and store them. So in order to lighten our load, we're having an even bigger sale today. 50% off everything in the store. And David, could you give me a hand for a sec? Okay. Which includes such thing as The honors. All the religious symbols, very shamanic, of all things. All right, beautiful. How much? Half of 45.
Practically free.
Here's the Lakshmi statue. $82.95. It's yours. Half price. $40, $41 plus tax.
Shamanic items, animal spirit guides, Palo Santo, sage, other great things too.
Check this out. Rose quartz. Woo! Feel that. It's crazy. It's 110 regular, $55 today. This is an extraordinary piece of fluorite, 150 euros per.
Other things for your shaman altar would include prayer beads, power animals and totems, tarot cards, incredible array of books. I mean, beautiful books, used books, sale books, brand new books, the books you've been wanting, half price. Essential oils, wind chimes, all jewelry, all gemstones. And also, beginning on Tuesday, for the rest of the week, we are going to be doing inventory and packing. So I would love to enlist anyone's help who has some free time throughout the week, even if it just be for an hour, to come and sign up. Love to have you help. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, John.
All right, quick reminder, I'm sure you don't need reminding really, that John has his wonderful workshop this afternoon, today from 1 to 3 p.m., and he'll be presenting his techniques, sharing some new shamanic material that's been channeled recently that he told us about. So it begins at 1 o'clock today in this very room, yes? 15 smackaroonies and you're in. How's that? 15 bucks. Practitioners are waiting for you back there. We know that. Circle group, yes. John will not be in the circle group. Because he has to go and eat and nourish himself and do things like, but Dr. Timothy will be there about 11:45 to 12:30, and you can discuss everything that's been talked about today. I think we're good. Going once, going twice. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, John, thank you so much for coming back. Thanks so much. Nikki, thank you so much for coming. Swahili. It was a Swahili song. Woo! Fabulous. Thank you. Ushers, greeters, practitioners, volunteers, thanks everybody, and thank you to your amazing selves for being here today. Let's sing ourselves out with the peace song. Thank you, Michael.